Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
I am that dude, Bodkins. Patty to patty. It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy. Give a big round of applause for the one and only BodkinShow. I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the Bodkin Show. I'm trying to get this. God, I love technology some days. Oh, this is what I need right here. There we go. Welcome to the Bodkin Show, folks. I am that dude, Bodkins. As always, this is our morning wrap-up show. We missed last week, out of town. I was busy, but we are back better than ever, folks. So let's get into it. Last night, if you missed it, we did our NFL Week 4 preview show. Special guest was Dan Bronson of the Fan Club. Love Dan, great guy. We get into a lot of different conversations throughout the show, as well as picking the games. Enjoyed it. So if you missed that, please do check that out. Again, that happened last night. It'll be on Spotify and Apple Podcasts sometime today. And then hopefully this will get on there about the same time as well. But check it out on the YouTube once we're done here this morning. It's a great show. Pick every game against the spread. Last week I went 8. I had a winning record, 8-7 the last two. So the last 2 weeks I've had winning records in the NFL picking against the spread. Not bad. We'll take it. Means if I did a parlay with my 8 games, I probably would have made some money, right? Hey, anyway. Let's get into this week, folks. Another busy week. We're going to start with, we're not going to do football of the NFL so much on this show because we have our preview show on Wednesday, and then we have our post show, our reaction show on Sunday nights. And if you missed our week 3 reaction show, that happened on Sunday. You can check that out on the YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You guys know the deal. Speaking of that, let's get this ticker rolling here. We won't even worry about the ticker today. Let's get into the old college football here. A lot of ranked games, a lot of ranked teams playing it out this week, starting with Kentucky. Dogs, number 7. Let's repeat that. Number 7, Kentucky. This is it. We're not talking college basketball, folks. We're talking college football here. But number 7, Kentucky. Remember, they beat Florida. That was one of the games I had wrong. But number 7, Kentucky are the Dogs going to Ole Miss. Number 14, Ole Miss. Kentucky +7. I mean, that's a lot of points. I mean, in college football, 7 is really not that much, and we'll get into a little bit of higher spreads here. But I'm going to have to go with I'm going to pound the Wildcats here. Kentucky Wildcats continue their hot streak. Kentucky's got a football team, folks. Give me Kentucky +7. I'll take the Wildcats at number 7 there. At +7, headed to number 14, Ole Miss. Now let's get into another game here. Number 2, Alabama heads to Arkansas. Arkansas 17-point dogs against Bama at home. Bama after that close loss to Texas have really blown the doors off of some folks. I kind of like Arkansas is coming off. What's their record here? Let's look it up here. I forgot. They have 1 loss. They were undefeated. I think they lost last week, actually. Was that last week? might have been 2 weeks ago. Might have been 2 weeks ago. Anyway, Bama's looked good. Here it is. Let's look at Arkansas here. So they lost to Texas A&M. Yes, last Saturday, 21-23. That was a high-scoring game. But other than that, I mean, they had a close loss with a close one with Missouri State, if you remember. The only they did beat the brakes off of Cincinnati, which I called, but that was week 1. I mean, 17 points. I know my buddy Chris Landis is watching. New baby boy. He's chiming in here. It was great against Texas A&M last week. It was against Texas A&M. Missed by a field goal. I mean, they've had coming off 2 losses, but 17 points is a lot. And Chris, I know you're sitting at home with the baby boy. It's Mason's first Arkansas game, and he's going to watch Bama roll over Pig Suey, locking it in. Sorry, brother. Sorry, Mason. Sorry, baby Mason. I know it's tough. Hey, don't fall for your dad's tricks. You don't have to be an Arkansas fan, Mason. You can grow up and pick any team. Don't be Pig Suey. Roll Tide, though, is going to roll over him. It's going to be – I got the Tide at minus 17. I mean, Nick Saban showed them boys after the close Texas loss. Hey, boys, we better get our shit together. So give me our Bama at plus 17. Headed into Arkansas. Sorry, Landez. Sorry, baby Mason. But, So no, hey, Landis, I said no Pig Suey. I'm hammering home the Tide here. Baby Mason's about to watch your team get blown out. His first ever Alabama or Arkansas game he's going to be able to watch on TV. All right, let's get into the next game. We got number 9, Oklahoma State, in a pick'em game going to Baylor. Baylor's lone loss was to BYU. Oklahoma State's undefeated. It's kind of a pick'em game here. I'm going to hammer home the Cowboys, Oklahoma State Cowboys here at number 9. Give me the Cowboys in a close game. And then we're getting into Wake Forest, Florida State. Wake Forest, number 22. Wake Forest? Man, when did they ever have a football team? Couldn't never tell you when they had a football team. Don't know. But they are dogs going to Florida State, number 23, Florida State. Florida State minus 7. Give me the Seminoles all day, baby. I'm taking the Seminoles. I don't know much about either one of those teams. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I haven't been watching enough college football. Got soccer Saturday, every Saturday. After these next 2 Saturdays, I'll be able to get into it a little bit more. But this last couple Saturdays, I have just been at the soccer fields from like sun up to sundown. But I'm gonna take Florida State here at plus 7. How about this one? Another surprising team in the top 10. Didn't realize it. NC State, the Wolfpack, number 10, headed to Clemson. Clemson, I do know, coming off a overtime win last Saturday. Who was that against? Like, it was some unranked team almost, I think. It was an overtime win. They were able to pull it out. That was against Wake Forest. Maybe that's why Wake Forest is ranked 45-51. Clemson 6.5 favorite. Man, this isn't your daddy's. Your cousin's Clemson's of last year. I don't want to say your daddy's Clemson's because it's not like your dad's Clemson's weren't very good, but it's not the Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson Clemson Tigers. Still got a good team. But I'm not a fan here. I'm hammering home the Wolfpack at plus 6.5. Give me the Wolfpack to maybe even the upset. All right, let's get into that. Kind of wraps up our college football. Let's back up. Let me back up into last week's games here, just because we didn't go through them. I wasn't on the air to pick games, so I didn't really kind of go through the games. Really, last week here we mentioned the Clemson game. Trying to look at some of these higher ranked matchup games. Oregon put it on BYU 20-41, or was that the week before? That was week 3. That was week 3. Sorry. I feel like that was a while ago. So last week, looking at trying to find the ranked games. There wasn't a whole lot of ranked games last week, other than the ones that we'd already talked about. We talked about the Texas A&M game. I mean, Texas loses to Texas Tech 34-37. This was the big one. Tennessee beating Florida 33-38. Tennessee's got some dogs out there, folks. And, that was pretty much all the ranked teams. We talked about the Clemson game. Georgia still undefeated. So, but it's not like they played anybody. They played Kent State. So, let's get into some NBA news here. There's problem in Phoenix organization. We talked about the last time I think I was on air. Server is getting suspended a year. Their owner, he is now coming out saying he's going to sell the team, which rightfully so. But even more, Monty Williams and DeAndre Ayton said he hadn't spoke to the Monty Williams since he benched him in Game 7, and all offseason. Monty said, "Hey man, I haven't talked to a lot of these guys since the season. I let the offseason be the offseason." But DeAndre Ayton didn't look thrilled to be there. Remember, he tried to go to Indiana, signed a deal there, but the Suns matched it. So back to Phoenix for DeAndre Ayton. Seems like he's kind of upset about that. I mean, I don't know how I feel either. You sign a contract with a team, and then the team that you're trying to leave, they match that. But hey, that's just the business, maybe. Let's get into Zion Williamson, man. He looks real healthy right now. Looked like he slimmed down. That's what we've been saying here. I mean, he looked like the Michelin Man. I mean, it took Charles Barkley. Remember, Charles has a great story. He wasn't getting a lot of playing time his rookie year, and Moses Malone just said, "You're fat and out of shape." And they worked on it, and then he became the mound rounder. He was already the mound rounder rebound from college, but then started playing well, got MVP, got his body in shape. And it looks like Zion has finally done that. I hope so. They signed him to a huge contract. The league is bigger and brighter when Zion is healthy. I mean, he's a good young kid. Like, let's get him going. You don't want to see a kid like that sitting out. And plus, I mean, that mortgages the Pelicans' future too. They got a nice squad. I believe they made the playoffs last year. Where like they are in the bubble or something like that, or not? Yeah, that playoff crap that they do. Because I mean, they got Brandon Ingram. They brought C.J. McCollum in, and if Zion can stay healthy, develop a jump shot. We'll see what they can do. I'm not saying they're going to be like, top 5 team in the West. I mean, the West is stacked. But there's only 4 or 5 teams really that are clear-cut, real contenders in the NBA. But, man, the NBA is about to kick off here. Hockey's about to kick off. I just feel like basketball season shouldn't start till Christmas. Hockey's first game should be the Winter Classic. That's the game outdoors on New Year's Day. I like that game, the Winter Classic, with the game where it's played outside. I just enjoy that. I think that should be their first game, and that's where their season should start. What are you guys doing starting in October and like that? Just wait. I mean, it's football season, baseball season. Let them get their shine. We'll worry about you guys down the road. I mean, That's just how it is. Maybe we'll do when basketball season does kick off. We will kick off with a little BPI, Bodkin's Power Rankings, BPR. So we'll do that once NBA season kicks off. Let's go ahead and get into baseball, man. Here it is. We're on our final stretch. Aaron Judge, 60 hit number 61 last night, tying Roger Maris's American League record. So he's one away from breaking it. He's got obviously a couple more games. He's got pretty much this weekend to go. And then I think like 3 games next weekend. And I mean, what we've talked about this before, he's now leading the league in batting average, RBIs, and home runs. 2 things. Give that man the MVP. I don't care about Shohei Ohtani. I understand what Shohei Ohtani has done is incredible. But Aaron Judge has got his team in the playoffs. You take Aaron Judge away from the Yankees, they're probably not in the playoffs, folks. And Aaron Judge, I just said, hit 60 home runs and is probably going to win the Triple Crown. That's never freaking happened, okay, in the history of baseball. Now, there's been 60 home run seasons, we know, but they don't win the Triple Crown while they're doing it. It's into discussion. Aaron Judge probably just put up the greatest season in baseball history. I'm going to say that again, folks. Aaron Judge just put up the greatest baseball season in history. Over 60 home runs, batting champ, RBI champ, Triple Crown. You know how hard it is to win a Triple Crown? You know how hard it is to hit 60 freaking home runs? The next guy behind him is 20 behind him. That's how many home runs how much he's better than the next guy who's smashing home runs. Give him the MVP. The man bet on himself. It's time to pay that man his money. That's what the Yankees got to be thinking. He beat me. He beat me fair and square. Pay that man his money. I mean, how much money is this man going to get in the offseason? He's going to be a free agent. I mean, his agent and him after every home run just got to be thinking, cha-ching, 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 beep, 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 beep. That's not your mama backing up. That's the Brinks truck backing up. Hold on. There's one more. Beep, 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 beep. And if he tears it up in the playoffs, hold on. There could be one more. There could be one more. If he just goes on a tear in the postseason and leads the Yankees to the World Series, beep, 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 beep. 3 Brinks trucks. That's how much money he's going to get. I think it's going to be a $500 million deal for Aaron Judge if he takes it. 10 years, $500 million. It could be. I mean, that's what I think it'll be for Aaron Judge. He's had some histories, but man, our injury history a little bit here and there, but he has put it all together, folks. And I mean, there's something it doesn't matter who it is, whether I like a guy, whether I like the team. When a player bets on himself and just goes out and now he's about to make the most amount of money he possibly can, just stick it to the old rich white guys. Love it. Love it. I mean, we're seeing the same thing with Lamar in the NFL. I mean, I just said he had the greatest season in baseball history. They've been playing baseball for over 100 freaking years. And nobody's done what he just did. Nobody. Not Babe Ruth, not Mickey Mantle, not Sammy Sosa, not Mark McGwire, not Ken Griffey Jr., not freaking Ted Williams. I mean, nobody has done what Aaron Judge has done. Now, Mickey Cabrera, a couple years ago, hit for the Triple Crown. Carl Yastrzemski hit for the Triple Crown. But you know what they didn't do? They didn't hit 60 freaking home runs. I'm all in on Aaron Judge, baby. I'm rooting for this guy. I hate the Yankees with a passion just as much as I hate the Cardinals, and we'll get into the Cardinals in just a minute. But there's something endearing about Aaron Judge. The other day, he took 3 walks, and it's not like they weren't intentional. There was like he had 2 strikes, and he took his walks. He's doing what he can for his team to help his team win. And then if you get it close enough, he's going to smash it out the freaking park. Or he's going to freaking hit a two-line, 2-bagger. His batting average, his home runs, RBIs. Sign me up for Aaron Judge. I hope this team, the Cubs, I hope they get him in the offseason. Pay him. Pay him $500 freaking million. Who doesn't want to see Aaron Judge at Wrigley Field? I do. You paid freaking Jason Hayward all that money, Chicago. Why not give some money? Now it's time, and he's off the books. It's time to give some money to Aaron Judge, folks. Whether it's the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets. Imagine if the Mets get Aaron Judge. Sticking it to their rival, the Yankees, their crosstown folk. I don't know. I think the Yankees will pony up and try to, and pretty much bring him back. But maybe Aaron's like, hey, get me out of here. Y'all didn't believe in me. Y'all didn't want me to meet my demands. I bet on myself. Now I'm about to make some real money. Show me the money. Let's get in some baseball standings here. Every division is wrapped up besides one as the postseason nears next week. And next week when we come on air, we'll give our playoff power rankings. So the aforementioned Yankees win the AL East. The Guardians win the AL Central. Speaking of that, so Tony La Russa is pretty much done in Chicago White Sox uniform. Houston wins the AL West. Cardinals win the NL Central. The Dodgers win the AL West. I mean, the Dodgers got the best record here at 107 wins and counting, folks. Houston's not too far behind them at 102. They'll be the 1 seeds in their respective conference or leagues. Now let's get into the division that's still up for grabs, and that's the Mets and the Braves. And what you know, folks, starting tomorrow, they play each other for a 3-game set. They are tied. And it's Braves, Mets. Now that game's supposed to be played in Atlanta. This series is supposed to be played in Atlanta, but due to the Hurricane Ian, it could be getting moved. But that series has got to be played because this one's for all the marbles here. This is the who takes 2 out of 3 is winning this baby. Let's get into Friday. You got Bassett taking on Max Fried. I mean, Max Fried we know is a stud. 13-7, 250, 2.50 ERA, 102 WHIP. I mean, I kind of like the Braves to win this one, right? Like, I mean, game 1, you got to like Max Fried and them boys to get it done. I like the Braves to win this one. Speaking of a guy who's probably going to be MVP of the National League, Aaron Judge is going to be MVP of the American League, but Pete Alonso, he's been tearing it up. 40 home runs, broke the Met record. He's batting 268 and 131 RBIs. So he could probably win the American League here or National League here. And then we get into that's game 1. So then we get into on Friday night. We get into Saturday's game, prime time, Saturday at 6:20. It's Jacob deGrom, the Mets. I would have liked to see Fried versus deGrom, and we'll probably see that in the playoffs maybe because both these teams have clinched a playoff spot, but haven't clinched the division. And that it's so important to win this division so you get advanced to the next round, really, and you kind of let the these playoff teams figure each other out. But deGrom, I mean. 2.93 his WHIP 0.74 deGrom. He was hurt most of the year, but since he's been back, The dude has been healthy and he's been killing it. You got to go with the Mets. Anytime Jacob deGrom's on the mound for the Mets, you have to take him. And then you get into Sunday, another primetime game, 6 p.m. game on Baseball Tonight. It's Max Scherzer versus Charlie Morton. And this is where the Mets trump everybody, man. When you got DeGrom and Scherzer, it's the Mets, man. The Mets are going to win this. When you can throw out DeGrom and Scherzer at the back end, unless something crazy happens, I like the Mets to win this series. I know the Braves lineup is really good. The Mets is just as good, obviously, because we're looking at two teams that could possibly win the whole thing. Both these teams are good enough to win the World Series. The Braves did it last year. So I like the Mets to take this thing, this series. I mean, just because it's the DeGrom Scherzer at the back end. So Mets win 2 out of 3 here. We'll see what happens. I'm excited. I love these close. This is when baseball's fun, even if your team's not in it. It's that October feeling, baby. So I'll be tuning in to a lot of baseball, October baseball. Let's get back into this. So the wild card is not quite. Remember, folks, there's 3 wild card teams this year. Wrong. Most of the wild cards all set up. There it is. You got Toronto, Tampa, and Seattle in the American League. They're all 3 getting in. It's just a matter of seeding. It looks like Toronto's going to go ahead and possibly take that first wild card. Tampa Bay is only a half game ahead of Seattle for the second wild card. And then you look at the National League. We talked about the Braves. They're in. San Diego's only 2.5 up on the Phillies, but more importantly, the Brewers are only a half game back. My Cubs spoiling the Phillies, baby. I hope they do it. I hope they kick. I don't care. Let the Brewers get in. They're not going to do anything. They can get kicked out too. I don't like this 3rd wild card spot. I like the 2 wild card game, but I'm not a fan of the 3. But anyway, Padres, Phillies, Brewers are all kind of right there. I think the Padres will probably get in, obviously a 2.5 lead with not very many to play here. But Milwaukee and Philly fighting for that final playoff. So I just hope the Phillies don't get in because a while back when I was on I mentioned that the Phillies probably should have sold, and these Philly freaking podcasters were like, that's the dumbest take of all time. Yeah, well, we'll find out when you don't make the freaking playoffs. And then we'll see who's laughing last. Those who laugh last laugh the loudest, baby. Bodkins will be laughing at you, Philly. See who's the dumbest take of all time. So that's what I hope. After that, I was jumping off the field. I mean, the Phillies got some players I like. Kyle Schwarber, obviously, but if the Brewers get in, they're going to be one and done. So it doesn't matter. That pretty much wraps up our baseball talk. I need to go. I could probably spend an hour talking about Aaron Judge. He's going to break the record. He'll probably finish with about 63, 64 home runs. So Alan's chiming in here, pushing for the Brewers to make it. I hope they do make it. 2 teams in the NL Central, so you kind of got to root for your Central mates. The Cardinals already clinched the division. Speaking of the Cardinals, this is where nobody's talking about them as far as like the national broadcast. It is everybody's high on the Dodgers, Braves, Mets. Watch out. This is the Cardinals. If they play the Dodgers, they own the Dodgers in the postseason. This is where the Cardinals could. This is what they do. They lay in the winds, folks. They lay in the grassy leaves, waiting for the prey to pounce. And next thing you know, Albert Pujols is holding up the freaking trophy. We haven't been on the air since Albert Pujols. Speaking of Albert Pujols hit home run number 700. Kudos to him. Remember, folks, even though I'm a Cubs fan, I respect baseball. I respect people. Albert Pujols probably on that Mount Rushmore of hitting. 700 home runs. Kudos to him. We had kind of talked about it on Buffoon and Bodkins with ex-professional baseball player Jonathan Grisham. He was kind of even saying, like, you know, Pujols, if he stays healthy a couple seasons in Atlanta, or I mean in LA, he's probably the all-time home run king. Just for whatever reason, he needed 3 healthy seasons, couldn't do it. Plays really well. Right, it's playing well right now. At times. I mean, he's retiring. It would be nice to see him come back. But that's probably right. I think you could say the same thing about Ken Griffey Jr. The knees and everything kind of put him out. Alan Perez says, Cardinals are my NL World Series, or Perales says, Cardinals are my NL World Series pick. Yeah, that's not a bad pick, man. I really think that the Cardinals can do it. They got the veterans. They got, the pitching. It'll be interesting. They just seem to have the Dodgers number. We just talked about the Mets. I like the Braves and Mets too. It's hard. I can't ever go on record picking the Cardinals, but for obviously reasons. But I just know what they're capable of. I've seen it 100 times, And so it's not a bad pick. I think the Cardinals can do it. That's for sure. I just hope it don't happen, but it probably will happen. It probably will. But anyway, we were talking about Pujols before that. I just think he 3 more seasons. He probably is healthy seasons. He probably, especially in his prime. And I'll put his first 10 years. Those first 10 years when he was a Cardinal against any players in baseball's first 10 seasons. And I guarantee you Albert Pujols' numbers and what his production outweighs theirs. You know what I mean? Albert Pujols in my lifetime, I love Ken Griffey Jr., but Albert Pujols is probably the best hitter of my lifetime in the last 30 years. Ken Griffey Jr. is probably the better ball player overall, just because he played center field, could do more things. But Albert Pujols, man, him and Miggy Cabrera, who I don't feel like gets enough love at times. And that might just because I live in Missouri, so everybody talks about Albert. But even from the national media, I don't feel like Miggy gets a lot. And it could be just because his last few years, Detroit hasn't been very good in a long time. So that could be reasons too. All right, let's get into our that kind of covers our baseball talk. One last thing here. Roger Federer retires. One of the GOATs in tennis. Man, tennis is losing some GOATs here. Serena, we talked about a while back, retiring. Now Roger Federer is hanging it up. 2 GOATs on their way out. They've owned the last probably 20 years of tennis. Some new young bloods coming up in tennis. But we had to shout out the man, Roger Federer. Let's get into some UFC stuff here. No fights last weekend. This weekend's card is Mackenzie Dern versus Jan Exanen. That's the main event. This thing is weird because the media, fans are all banned from the Apex. Mackenzie Dern kind of said in an interview it's because Mark Zuckerberg rented out the place, but Dana White's kind of dismissed that. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. I'm not a huge fan of this fight card on a fight night, but hey, crazy things happen. I like Mackenzie Dern to win that fight. She's been on a roll. I think she probably needs one more, and then she can get a title shot in that strawweight division and face Valentina. So we'll see. We'll have all our head kicks and haymakers. That'll happen on Sunday, Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Me, Kenny, Craig, hopefully we'll be breaking it all down. That kind of wraps it up, folks, for our weekly wrap-up show. We got to talk about something here before I get off of here because it just kind of reminded me I've seen something. We got to talk about this Brett Favre situation. So Brett Favre was kind of taking some, from what I've gathered, was taking welfare money and pretty much giving it to Southern Miss, his former college, and was getting funds taken there. Here's the thing. And everybody's like, oh, I've seen a lot of memes. It's like Jameis Winston got more coverage from stealing crab legs than Brett Favre has done it. There's two things. Number one, Jameis Winston was about to enter the NFL when that happened. Brett Favre hasn't played a football game in over 10 years. And now all this stuff is coming out. And it is true that it's not getting a lot of coverage. It seems like on the ticker more or less than anything. I mean, is anybody surprised though? Brett Favre thought he was a god in Mississippi, and they treated him such. So is anybody surprised that he was like getting money embezzled and doing these type of things, doing kind of scumbaggy things? I'm not really. I love Brett Favre as the player, but maybe as the man, he's not as great as we all thought he was or is. I mean, it's a very scumbaggy thing to do, take welfare money and give it to your university for things like that. But the governor was allowing that to happen. The governor was allowed to happen. And why isn't there, why isn't there more outrage or more coverage? Well, because the man isn't in the league anymore. If he was in the league, if he was still playing football, there'd be a lot more coverage about it. There'd be a lot more, people asking him questions because he has to face the media every day. But guess what? He doesn't have to face the media. He can sit on his farm in Kiln, Mississippi, and shut his TV off and walk away. Nobody cares. That's just what it is. Unless the government and there's investigations and, he gets arrested and things like that, then that stuff will happen. Or he's probably going to have to pay some fees, but I'm sure he's got enough money for all that. I don't know how much money he owes, but I mean, the governor allowed that to happen. He took advantage of things. Not saying it's right. It's definitely not right. We all know it was wrong, but it's apples to oranges, folks. When you're looking at, they did this to Jameis, and I think a lot of people just want to get into it because Jameis is, the black versus white thing. It's not. It's active player versus non-active player. The league's not, media's not going to pay much attention to a guy who hasn't fucking played a game in 10 years. I mean, that's just what it boils down to. Jameis Winston was, when he did all that stuff, he was coming into the league, was about to be the number 1 overall draft pick at that point in time. Or maybe he was. I can't remember if he had just got drafted when the crab legs thing happened. So, of course, people are going to blow that out of proportion because he's a young kid and doing this and that. Something that happened, 5 years ago when this happened with Brett Favre and he hasn't played in the league, it's not going to get that much coverage, man. It is what it is. Not saying it's right or wrong. Or I'm not saying that's right. It's wrong what Brett Favre did, and he's obviously committed the more severe crime. I think Jameis Winston just made a mistake, maybe. But, I mean, that was a long time ago. That was over 10 years ago, too. Or 5 years ago. I don't really know. However long Jameis has been in the league. But my point is, it's not the same. And Brett Favre is just in the league. Doesn't mean what he did was right. Was right. I'm trying to see if there's any other news I need to hit up on here. I think that's it, folks. This has been another great episode of the BodkinShow. I appreciate y'all hanging out. We'll be back. So the weekend plan is Sunday morning at 7 a.m. We'll have Head Kicks and Haymakers, our UFC show. You can check that out right here. And then Sunday I'll be on Let's Talk Sports at 10 a.m. Kind of getting you ready for the week 4 pregame show. And then Sunday night at 8:45 p.m., we'll be back with our week 4 NFL reactions, breaking down all the games, excited for everything. So make sure you be a friend, tell a friend, share with a friend. Hit that subscribe button, folks. We're on Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Head over there, give us a nice little 5-star rating. It's been a pleasure, kids. I appreciate it. y'all have a rest blessed of the week. A lot of stuff. I mean, sports are happening, man. This is a good time. College football. We went down about 4 or 5 games here. We'll break them back down next week. We'll probably keep doing this maybe on Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know. We'll see. It just depends. I think I've been setting my alarm too early and falling back asleep, but I think I finally got it figured out this morning. So we'll be back on Sunday. Y'all have a blessed week. Hit that subscribe button. Be a friend. Share. Like. Tell a friend. You guys know the business. Hitting that outro, baby. Y'all have a good rest of the week. I mean, baseball season's wrapping up. College football is in the thick of it. NFL week 4. I'm excited. Can't wait for soccer season to be over with so I can stay at home and watch all the games. But actually, I love being a dad watching my kids play soccer too. So I can't really say I'm one either one. You guys know it. It's a struggle. But hey, we'll see you on Sunday, folks. Hitting that outro. Y'all have a good rest of the week. This has been another great episode of the Bodkin Show, baby.